Hello, everyone, and welcome to our What is WoAA event. So tonight we're just going to be talking about our mission, our history, and the structure of WoAA, as well as all of our amazing chapters. And I hope that you guys can all learn a lot about this great organization, and we're going to leave a lot of time for you guys to ask questions of me and our amazing board. So my name is Harshini, and I am the Expansion Subcommittee Chair for this year. I'm also a rising senior studying aerospace engineering at Georgia Tech. We've got a couple other members of our board, but I'll let them introduce themselves when I get to the end of the presentation before we start the Q&A. So before we really get started on the material that we're talking about today, I wanted to discuss something that, has been affecting everybody across this entire country and across the world. So this event was originally supposed to take place a couple weeks ago, but based on the climate at that point, we felt like it would be remiss to, have this event at that time. But I wanted to put up a statement about what was going on in the world and just have it here for you guys to read, to know that we do see you and we are here to help and hopefully be a voice for change. So to continue on that, it's nice to say that we're doing our best, but it's important to actually take that into action. And so we have created a diversity and inclusion working group for WoAA. And so they have already started to come up with some really great ideas for how we can make WoAA a more diverse organization for everybody, which really just aligns with our mission as a whole. And one of the first action items that we've all been taking is educating ourselves. So the diversity and inclusion group has started to put together a list of resources for our board as well as our members to just be better allies in the situation and just to educate ourselves and make sure that we're doing the best that we can. And more diversity and inclusion events are going to be coming from this group, so definitely keep an eye out for that. We also have a feedback form for if you want to give us anonymous feedback. You're also welcome to email us if you'd like your name to be a part of that. And all these links will be in the description, so don't worry about the link for now. So moving on, the first most important thing is our mission. And so our mission as WoAA is to provide support, empowerment, and networking opportunities for women and minorities in the aerospace field, beginning with university students. And so there are some of our pillars of that, including increasing female and minority participation in the aerospace field, creating a safe and welcoming place, and also building a supportive community within aerospace. And so we feel it's really important that we hold everyone, but most importantly ourselves, to the standards. And I think that, especially with our current situation, these words have become more important than ever. So to go a little bit into our history, so we're a fairly new organization. We really got started in 2018 with a University of Maryland chapter. And so their chapter, the department chair, as well as their dean of engineering, worked together with AIAA board members to make what was happening at a few different schools into a national organization. So University of Michigan, MIT, Stanford, Purdue, Georgia Tech, WPI, a lot of these schools had smaller, just campus-based organizations to support women in aerospace, but this is really something that affects everyone, and so they wanted to make it a national organization. And moving into 2019 and 2020, this is when WoAA really started to flourish, and so we ran a panel event at SciTech, and in July of 2019, a big milestone for us, we became an official committee within AIAA, so we are under their diversity and inclusion group, and so I think as a new committee, this is a great place for us to bring change in a professional organization. And so we have a couple other of conferences and things like that that we have been a part of. And we also were fortunate to gain 11 new chapters that aligned under the National WoAA name in the 2019-2020 academic year. So going a little bit into our structure, so our board as an international board is made up of university students and young professionals, and we are really there as the connecting point for all of these various chapters that we have. And we have subcommittees within our international board based on each one of our pillars. So professional development, technical development, outreach, member advancement and awards, and expansion. And so anybody can be a part of any of these committees. And we are there to support our chapters, but also do events on a national scale to help bring WoAA into the future. And the other part of our structure is our chapters, as I mentioned. And so all of these amazing chapters have their own structure when it comes to their board and all these things. But the one thing that we really require from our chapters is that they remain in contact with us through a liaison. And so the expansion committee, which is the group that I had, actually has a once a month meeting with these liaisons to make sure that we're hearing them and whatever support that we can provide them as an international organization, we can do so. So going into kind of one facet of our structure a little bit, and that's within our role within AIAA. And so if for those of you who don't know, AIAA is the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, and it was created in 1963, and it's a very large technical and professional society just dedicated to aerospace as a whole. And so within AIAA, there are these integration and outreach committees, or IOCs, and they focus on cross-discipline integration and making sure that, AIAA as a whole is reaching out, is interacting with the community. And so there are 4 categories of that, which is outreach, business and management, integration, and young professionals. And so our group, International WoAA, is an aerospace outreach IOC. And so we basically are kind of the national organization, and we support the creation of these university chapters. To go a little bit further into our board, we have our leadership up here. So our chair, vice chair, and secretary. And then we have, as I mentioned earlier, the different subcommittee leaders. And so hopefully we have some of these people on the call today. And so if you have any specific questions about any of these subcommittees, then they'll be there to answer them. And also, if you want to help out with the subcommittee, I'll go more into this a little bit later, but anybody is welcome to help with any subcommittee. And so you can fill out that volunteer form and kind of choose your preference and be connected with that subcommittee. Yeah, so to go a little bit further into our subcommittees, as I've mentioned, here's just kind of a small blurb about each one of them in terms of what they have been working on and what their mission statement is just as a subcommittee. And each one of our subcommittees has done a really great job so far, being able to host all these events, especially in the pandemic situation. Everything is virtual, but we have not slowed down. All of our subcommittees have definitely not slowed down, and they're still making sure that we're providing high quality support and events for all of our members. So just to go quickly into the expansion subcommittee, we basically have liaisons from all of our different chapters, and we're also kind of operate using the same regions that AIAA designates. So we have regions 1 through 7. And so expansion as a committee, we work to make sure that you can start a new chapter, connect you with other chapters, and then support your chapter as you grow. So we're kind of there for your entire process. It doesn't just end when you've created a chapter. And we're also looking to start forming professional chapters and groups that you don't necessarily have to be a part of a college to be a part of. And that, I think, is a really great place for us to continue to go. So now moving on into our chapters. So here's just a little map of where we have all of our chapters so far. And so I think it's great to see that we have people from coast to coast, and we're still looking to expand to some areas, but all of our chapters have been really awesome throughout this entire process, and we're so happy to have them as part of National WoAA. Oh, here's some pictures that our chapters sent in, and so we have some groups from Georgia Tech, from University of Michigan, from Stanford, and from some other schools, and just their boards. And it's great to see that they're involved in their school as well as with national, and so we just wanted to share some fun pictures of them. All right, so to kind of break down chapters as a whole, most chapters typically range from 10 to 30 members, and some have, men and non-binary folks, some are just women, but everyone from freshmen to grad students are pretty represented, as you can see on this little pie chart here. And so these WoA chapters are not just for undergrads, they're not just for a certain group of people. This is like a group of community for everybody, and we really want to promote that. Along with that, we also have obviously the exec board members for each of our chapters, and so this also ranges everywhere from freshmen to grad students, and so anybody can take a leadership position on our chapter boards, and it's really all done the way that the chapter wants to do it. We don't put a lot of pressure in terms of regulating exactly how things need to be done, but some chapters have done their board selection through like a nomination or a vote. Some have done applications, and so it's really great to see all these creative ideas for what our chapters have been doing to get members as well as get their exec board. So another really big part of, starting a chapter and having a successful chapter is faculty support and funding. And so all of our chapters either receive full or partial support from their departments and faculty. And this is something that didn't just end after the group was created. Their faculty and groups have been really supportive and making sure that they're continuing their support even as the chapter continues to grow. About 75% of our chapters receive like financial funding from their department. However, it's not necessarily required. Some groups have merged with other organizations and gotten funding a different way. There's also the corporate sponsorship avenue, but whenever it comes to anything like that, it's important to check with your university first about what's okay and what's not to make sure that you're not stepping on any toes. So all of our chapters put on some really awesome events, and so we wanted to just highlight that here. So we have Purdue's Engineering Social with freshmen, so really making sure that young freshman students that come in have a good community from the outset. We have MIT holding a high school outreach day for female students, which is a great way to give back to the community. University of Maryland holding a photo campaign at a picnic, and then we have Georgia Tech students at a women's maker day at the Aero Makerspace there. All right, so before we get into the Q&A portion, I just wanted to do some frequently asked questions because these are ones that I get a lot. And so the first one is how to start a WoA chapter. Fabulous question. And it really is tailored to your group. And so we're going to have a starting a chapter event in July. So be on the lookout for that. And we'll be able to answer all of your more specific questions about starting a WoA chapter at that event. Another big question is, do I have to be a member of AIAA to be a WoA member? If you're a university student, you do not need to be an AIAA member. This is something that's, been in the works, but we're trying to make sure that there's as little barrier to entry as possible to be a part of WoA. And then kind of the final big question is, do I have to be a part of a school chapter to be a part of WoA? And that is absolutely not the case. So you can help out with our national and international efforts without being at a school with a chapter, or even if like your school doesn't necessarily have like an aerospace department or anything like that. So we have our tiny URL link to join the registry. And so if you sign up there, you'll be kind of connected into the group. We'll add you to our, Slack and our Facebook group, and then you can start to be a part of, helping with future events or anything on a national level. All right, so now I want to open it up to questions. So first, let's have our board and everybody else on the call just quickly introduce themselves, and then we can go to any questions.
Okay, I can start. Hi, my name is Rosemary Davidson, and I'm the WoA secretary this year, and I was also on the board last year as the expansion chair. I'll just go, Amy, you're next on my screen if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Amy. I'm a member of the expansion subcommittee. Sarah, you're next on my screen.
Hi, I'm the co-chair for member investment along with Samia, who is not able to join this time. But it's nice to meet you all. And Chica is next in my screen.
Hi everyone, I'm Shikha. I'm from University of Maryland. I'm currently the vice president of WoAA chapter there, and I'm also involved with expansion as the Region 1 liaison and with professional development subcommittee.
And I'm Matt Marcus. I am the technical development chair this year for WoAA. I was the technical development vice chair last year.
Awesome. So do we have any questions?
We do not have any questions on the chat right now. So I have a couple that I thought might be relevant. If you want me to just ask those.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is, what if I don't have enough, or enough people, or a great enough number of people in my school to start a chapter?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's definitely something that can be an issue if you don't necessarily have an aerospace department, but you're still really interested in aerospace as a major. And so our suggestion would be, reach out to us and we can probably find a chapter near you or a group near you to connect you to. And so you can attend their events virtually and also just be a part of the national group as a whole, and making sure that that's a great way for you to make a difference and be a part of WoAA without necessarily being in the chapter.
Thank you. And then another question also is, what if you're not in the United States? Can you still, start a chapter or join WoAA?
Yeah, so currently we don't really have any international chapters, but we are a national and international organization, so we are 100% open to that. Again, definitely just reach out and we'll help you kind of navigate that process.
Okay. And then I was wondering if perhaps some of the other WoAA members on the call might be able to talk a little bit about some of the WoAA events that the international board runs for non-chapter members.
We can talk about some of the technical development events. We do, and I should preface this by saying that a number of events that we do sort of more and more every day are joint efforts between the different subcommittees. But the major events that technical development participates in is technical workshops, which is basically tutorials for various skills given the current COVID-19 situation. These are mostly software skills that we're teaching through online tutorials. And we also do a number of panels related to both technical topics and sort of general career advice, especially on the technical side when it comes to grad school. So we will be having a whole grad school panel series over the course of this summer. So be on the lookout for announcements about that on our social media.
I know Annika is not here for professional development, but I'm also helping out with that so I can kind of discuss what we've been working on there. And so, along with, as Matt mentioned, working with other subcommittees for these joint projects and these working groups, professional development is really looking to make sure that our members are prepared to go into the fall career season as best as they possibly can. So we're doing a lot of interactive series. So we have a resume peer review and an elevator pitch practice and stuff like that coming up, as well as kind of some bigger events with company networking. And so those are on the horizon for sure, not yet fully confirmed, but something that is on the horizon. And it's definitely just a great way to not only meet other people, but make sure that you're completely polished up to go to career fair.
Thank you. I guess I'll talk also about our outreach subcommittee. I know that they aren't on here right now, but they are really focusing on both supporting chapters for K through 12 and community college outreach programs, as well as developing particularly online programming, which is useful both right now and for accessibility all over the world, doing videos and tutorials geared towards mainly K through 12 students. And they'll be also starting some programming soon about community colleges right now.
And then, Sarah, did you want to go into what member advancement has been working on?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that member advancement works on is working on is opportunities so that other members are aware of them. So as the name implies, we're trying to help members advance in their career and just get opportunities both in research or in the industry. So the idea is to have a compilation of internships, jobs, awards that you can get as a student or even further along in grad school and whatnot. So that's one of the main focuses right now.
Awesome, yeah. Well, I guess if we don't have any other questions, we can kind of talk about, I guess for those of you that have been on the board before or things like that, like what got you interested in WoAA? What got you into a part of this organization?
I guess I can talk. Oh, we got a question on YouTube. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's a question asking if it is okay to participate in WoAA as a community college student.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are open to everybody, and so we'll post the links and how to get involved in the description of this video, but by all means, you are completely welcome.
Yeah, so for anyone who wants to, just be on our roster, we'll make sure that link is in the description, and then we'll also put the link for how you can join a subcommittee or a working group in the description as well.
Yeah.
I was also wondering, we've just started this kind of international working group structure and running a bunch of events, especially a grad school series this summer. And I was wondering if someone might be able to talk about what that working group structure is and how people can get involved and what the commitment is if you wanted to get involved on a working group.
Yeah, Matt, definitely. You want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that. So we very recently, over the last month or so, have started a number of working groups, which is basically divisions within WoAA International that focus on a specific task and involve members from various different subcommittees. And the idea is that this you're welcome to stay on for as long as you like, but it is not required to be a long-term commitment. If there is some project or some event or something you think that we should be doing at a international or national level, feel free to get in touch with us, and you can join WoAA and join the relevant working group to work on that project and have the support of the working group as well as the relevant subcommittees. So we have set up a number of working groups. Just to give some examples, we have a national panels working group that is currently focusing on this summer grad school series. We have a national interviews working group where we expect to be doing some one-on-one interviews in the near future. So be on the lookout for that. And we also in light of recent events, have established a diversity and inclusion working group. So I don't know if anyone on the board wants to talk about that, but that's sort of some of our most recent events and, what our efforts are in that area.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about what the diversity and inclusion working group is doing, and what they're planning for the next month and then beyond. So again, this was set up in response to recent events, especially in the United States, pertaining to racism and police brutality. And so WoAA is a group for women, gender minorities, and allies, but we want to make sure that we support everyone who is in our group, including people of color, and LGBTQ plus and first generation college students and all that. So this group right now, they're working on compiling a list of anti-bias and anti-racism resources that we're going to be posting on our website and will be updated periodically with up-to-date readings that you can partake. And some will be readings that take, that are entire books, and some will be papers or TED Talks that are much shorter. And so especially with those papers, the Diversity and Inclusion Working Group will be recommending expected readings and expected media to the elected WoAA board members, so that we are all on the same page and have at least a base level of knowledge about these topics. And then another thing that they're doing for July is they're planning another virtual panel, and this will be featuring all people of color at different levels that you might see in industry. So undergraduate, graduate, recent graduate or young professional, and then as well as a person who is closer to retirement. And they'll be going over microaggressions and racism in the aerospace field. And so they are planning a whole series of kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion events, and that will be the first one that they're planning. So we will be posting about that as soon as we know the date.
We have a link we can put up for anyone that may want to volunteer for a working group or otherwise at the national level.
Yes, I don't know if it's up right now, but yes, I will make sure that it's another tiny URL link. So we'll make sure that it's in the description below once the video, like the final video, is posted on YouTube, which would be probably within the next 48 hours.
All right, looks like we have another question. So can you guys talk about the different events that you have going on in the next couple of weeks and what subcommittees were a part of the creation of those events? So I know definitely coming up we have some professional development events in terms of the resume practice and also elevator pitch practice to make sure that our members are prepared for career fair, but we also really want to make sure that in this virtual environment people have a chance to connect with each other, so we're doing our best to make that as interactive as possible. And then I know technical development you guys are doing you guys are helping out with the panels and stuff like that, but is there anything else that is coming up that we haven't discussed?
Yes, we have an astrodynamics workshop, which will be taking place tomorrow night. Unfortunately, due to issues with the processing that we need to do to get everyone licenses to use the software for that, the registration for that is currently closed. But you will be able to get a license for that and install that software on your own time, and the workshop will be posted afterwards to our YouTube channel with the instructions to download and install FreeFlyer, which is that software that we'll be using for that. We expect to be doing some additional technical workshops over the summer and into the fall, so be on the lookout on our social media for more details about that. And going back to the panels, we expect our next panel, which will be done by this National Panels Working Group, a joint effort between technical development and professional development, we'll be hosting a panel on how you can get funded for grad school. So if grad school is something that you're interested in, definitely tune into that. And that will be on June 30th.
Maybe Amy or Shika, could one of you talk, or maybe each of you could take like a different aspect of the question, but maybe if you wanted to talk about what expansion and the kind of professional/industry committees are planning to do, this summer and fall for, both expansion for university chapters as well as the regional chapters that we're talking about.
Sure. A lot of this is still in the works, but we're working on creating both chapters at different colleges, and that's more something that Expansion's working on, as well as working on creating regional chapters that would be open to colleges that maybe don't have as many students, but also open to young professionals or anyone in the aerospace industry in that area. And a lot of that does take some planning, so that's something that we're working on this summer. But if anyone's interested, that's something that Expansion can help out with. And if you get in contact with Harshini, she'll be able to help get you in contact with us, and that will help us create some different chapters, both for professionals and college students.
Yeah, like adding to what Amy said, that we are definitely working towards getting, especially the community colleges and colleges where there are less percentage of women or non-engineering background, but they are still interested, trying to contact them and highlight them, and again also trying to work with the diversity and inclusion, and trying to more focus on the less representative groups in these sectors and the nearby colleges, and again reaching out to them to join us and to listen to them if they have any needs and requests for professional development or technical development and any kind of interaction for them. And on the terms of professional development, the one thing that we discussed the last time was we are having these different events with resume building and having companies come up to interact with students all over the US, especially with different regions and different companies. So what we are planning to do is somehow create a resume database with every chapter, so that if somebody is interested in a particular company and they attend that session, they could have their resume sent to them, that particular company specifically. So we are trying to work with the regional chapters to build that database and to work it out what could be the best way for students to approach these companies, which might be difficult on a regular basis, and especially nowadays with the virtual sessions.
Yeah, just to add on to that a little bit, I know we have another question, but just to add on to what Shika was saying, we're also working in professional development on specifically international student professional development and making sure that they're in the best position possible, especially given the current situation, as well as just how difficult it can be to be an international student in aerospace. And so we're actually trying to work with somebody that one of our members knows that does specifically resume building for international students, and trying to get them in to do a workshop to make sure that we're really supporting our members in that area as well. And I'm just going to quickly go to another question that we have. So what is the best place to keep up with national WoAA events, and when and where are they happening? So I'd just say that the best place to keep up with all the events is our national events Google Calendar that we can post the link to. So everyone can take a look at that to see what events are coming up. And in terms of the medium of our events, we try to do a lot of them end up being on WebEx, just like group calls, and we're trying to figure out how to use this YouTube platform a lot more, but obviously there are technical issues that come with that as well, so we're trying to make sure that we stay reliable with that. And so I think a lot of our events now are on WebEx, but we are working towards YouTube a lot more, especially with our outreach events and the different tutorials that we have and events like this.
Yeah, and I would say if you want to be sure to be informed of all of our upcoming events, the best place to do that would probably to be filling out our roster link. So we'll post that in the comments as well. It's just another tiny.cc/WoA. And so we send out newsletters over email on the 1st and the 15th of every month. And in those, we have all the upcoming events, especially for that 2-week period coming up. And then our social media will usually post them as well. So our Instagram and our newsletters, if you're on the WoA roster, are probably the best place to find out about events in addition to the calendar.
Yeah, and I have all of our social media on the next slide after this, so I'll make sure to leave that up so you guys can follow us on all of that. So I guess another question something that we can discuss. So Amy, I know that you are on a working group for WoA Pals. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about what you guys are doing and how that's going? Oh yeah, okay. Amy's having some technical issues. No worries. I just asked about your involvement in WoA Pals and what you guys are working on as a group and how that's been going.
Yeah, so one of the outreach initiatives is to have a pen pal program with different high school students across the US. And we're actually specifically looking for people in regions different from where we currently are so that we're able to connect across different, possibly cultural groups or at least geographical groups, and encourage a greater connection that way. But what we're looking for is anyone in WoA who wants to get involved with the outreach committee. We want people to both write these pen pals that we're looking for, but also people who can get us in contact with schools in their area or possibly schools that they attended, so that we'll be able to reach out to these schools, reach out to these teachers, and get students who are interested not only in aerospace but in STEM in general, so that we'll be able to talk to them about what it's like to be in STEM, what different options they have, anything from that to also just how to apply to college and just be supportive in their career choices.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. All right, so I guess another question that I just kind of have. So, Shika, you mentioned that you were the vice president of the UMD chapter. Do you want to talk a little bit about just how the WoA chapter experience has been for you and how that transition was from just being a chapter to kind of moving into like this national system?
Sure. So yeah, I've been on the WoA board at UMD for last 1 year, and I've been always going to the events there, and it's very nice. Like I actually got intrigued initially when I heard about these events and started going there. And then I volunteered at one of the WoA UMD's event called the WoAA, which is basically for middle school and high school girls to aware them about the aerospace engineering. It's a 1-day event where they come, listen to different panels, they have activities, and get a chance to interact with students. So I volunteered for that, and I really liked how um, these girls had an opportunity to look up to and get a chance to talk to aerospace engineers and get that curiosity going. And from that, I got the encouragement to apply for the board. And for last 1 year, I've been on the board, and it's a very encouraging experience, to be honest with you, because at our board we have all the different people from different years in their juniors, sophomore years, seniors, and graduate students, and everyone is working toward one goal of encouraging women or girls towards aerospace engineering, or in general, encouraging girls in STEM, which is sometimes can be a difficult situation um, for them to take a courageous step to go out of their comfort zone, where we have been heard from girls who started as a freshman in aerospace, but they were very intimidated by their male counterparts, whether they have to work on a homework or something like that, and which gives them that encouragement at a university level, and when you can help the nearby schools and girls in that scenario. And from there, I got the encouragement to actually come and work at the national WoA. I was very happy when initially I got to know that now we are going national, because this is something which is very important for women. And being an international woman in aerospace, it can get little intimidated. Like in my field, I have not met a woman, to be honest. So if you have somebody to talk about that experience, to discuss that and get that confidence, oh, it's okay to be the single person, like a single girl or a woman in particular field. And by joining the national WoA chapter, I got the opportunity to talk to people from different universities and work with them towards um, encouraging girls, and again understanding what other people have gone through, what I'm going through, and learning from their experience, and helping the other upcoming generation in that scenario. And especially with all the initiatives that WoA has taken, whether it's expansion or technical development or professional development, it's just amazing, and I feel really happy to be a part of it. So yeah, it just it's so much learning process for me.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that one because I was not super exposed to National WoA at all last year when I joined the Georgia Tech board. And this year I kind of started to get more into it when I applied to be on the board. And it's been really amazing just to see how everyone is working together, like you said, for this common goal, and just finding that community not only where you are, but around the country and around the world. Well, does anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Any questions that they have? Anything?
I was actually just wondering if this is the last question I have. If you could talk a little bit about those liaison meetings, because the University of Maryland, Shika, it was very exciting to hear your perspective. It was very inspiring to hear, your experience through that group. But for schools that maybe have a few members who are interested in starting a chapter and don't know quite how to do that, can you talk a little bit about what those liaison meetings are for and how the expansion group can support newer chapters?
Absolutely, yeah. So once a month, we've been doing a meeting with the expansion committee as well as just liaisons from every one of our school chapters, anybody that can make it. And so the goal of those meetings have really just been to first discuss what National WoA has been doing in terms of upcoming events or things that we've been working on. And then really most of the meeting is dedicated to just hearing what everybody else is working on and hearing how we can support them. And it's really amazing because you can watch all of the chapters support each other. So, for example, we had one of our newer chapters at University of Missouri was talking about, hey, like we're looking to make t-shirts, but we don't know like how to do the designs or things like that. And there were immediately like 4 or 5 other schools who had done this before to be like, let me send you the links that we use to get our t-shirts. Here are the designs that we've done. And so it's really a great place for us to do our job as national and connect these chapters with each other virtually. And so we also do that via a Slack channel where they can continuously talk to each other and to us. And moving forward, we're really working on making sure that, these meetings are more themed, I guess, to make sure that we get the best conversation possible out of it. So we have one of these liaison meetings coming up later this week, and the focus is really on diversity and inclusion within our chapters and how we as a national group can support that and what issues they may be having. And so I'm really looking forward to it because I think it's going to be a really productive conversation. In terms of expansion supporting newer chapters, it really is like, so we have a WoA starter guide, and so that's kind of our starting point for all of our new chapters in terms of what other chapters have done previously, how we can help you, and so we kind of start from there, and then based on what your chapter is looking for and what you guys need, like we will work with you to make sure that we're giving you the best possible experience, and it's like a very easy transition into WoA. So we have like a couple of requirements in terms of all of our chapters when it comes to like having a liaison to us and the structure, but really we do let our chapters do what they want and just kind of run with it in certain cases. And for example, one of our chapters has merged with their AIAA group at their school, and so they have a rep on their AIAA group that is a WoA rep, and so that person is like their board member that's in charge of that. So we have that situation, whereas on the other hand, at some other schools, we have just a completely autonomous WoA group. And so we are like 100% here to make sure whatever lane that you want to be in, wherever that ends up, like we are there to support you. So we'll start you off with that starter guide, but by no means is that the end all be all. And we're really like looking to tailor it to make sure it's the easiest process for you. All right, well, if nobody else has anything else, and I don't think we have any other questions, I will move to our social media slides. So here are our emails, our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn handle, and follow us to stay tuned for all those updates. And then all the links that we have been mentioning this entire time, they will all be in the description once this live stream ends. So you guys can come back to this and check everything out. And we're always available, and we're here to talk to you, whether that be via email, via social media, or through the anonymous feedback form if you don't want your name associated with it. And so that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for attending, everybody on the stream, and thank you so much to all of our board members for being here and helping answer questions, as well as all of our, expansion, professional development members, all these people that are here, and just it really shows how great of an organization this is. So thank you.